Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today is a mail call video, but I'm switching things up a little bit. Before I get into that, I wanted to let you guys know that we have a class sale going on at onlinecardclasses.com right now. It only lasts through the end of today, so I'm a little late letting you guys know, but hopefully you follow me on Instagram or Facebook because I've been trying to let you guys know there over and over that the sale is going on. I don't want you to miss out. It is $5 off every single class, no coupon code needed. The only class that it doesn't apply to is the most recent class, which is Creative Chemistry 103. But all the other classes are $5 off through midnight Eastern tonight. So go ahead and take advantage of that. If you've ever wanted to try one of our online card classes, this is the time to do it. A couple of the classes are as low as $7. So it's a really great way to kind of dip your toe into the online classes waters. So anyway, back to mail calls. So I asked a bunch of you guys on Facebook about kind of switching up mail call and how I do things. And I landed upon an idea that I think was really going to work. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to show you all of the cards for July. And then at the end of this video, I will go ahead and show you like a regular card video, but I'm doing it for the theme for August. So this is a little bit late getting up, it's the 15th today, but hopefully in the future, I'll have this up within the first week of the month. So you have plenty of time if you want to do that theme. You don't have to wait for me to show the theme in a video. I always post themes 2 months in advance. So you will see the theme for August and September down in the video description below and also at my blog. So let's get into the cards for July. Okay, before I move on to the card, which has a theme for August, I wanted to give Donna a big thanks. She sent me some napkins. I talked about this particular image from Gorgeous on a Crafty Chat. The Crafty Chat is like a kind of a video podcast, I guess you would say. Video interviews that we do at onlinecardclasses.com. They're absolutely free. I will link to them up here in the top corner or in the video description over at my blog or below if you want to check those out. But we have many, many episodes talking to a bunch of card makers and companies and stamp companies people really seem to love it. So, and we love doing that. Anyway, one of those chats, I mentioned that this particular image I absolutely love because of the cat on the girl's lap, and I think she's adorable. I've done a card using this stamp before. I'll also link that up in the top corner if you want to check it out. But I was looking for the mini version of this stamp, and I guess she caught that episode and remembered that I loved this image. So thank you so much, Donna, for sending along these napkins. They're adorable. Okay, so now we're going to move on to my card for the theme for August, and the theme is flowers. You can do anything you want with flowers. I mean, it could be floral pattern paper, it could be flower stamps, it could be anything with flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a card that I made using some floral stamps, kind of like a build your own wreath stamp set for My Favorite Things. So the stamp set I'm using for My Favorite Things is called Spring Wreath, and I'm going to do some distress inking and then using a water brush to fill in the gaps. So I have some Strathmore watercolor paper here, and I'm starting out with the color Forest Moss, and I'm just dabbing that onto some sections of the leaves. I'm trying to avoid kind of the dash line and that solid line that's connecting all of the leaves, because I'm going to be stamping some smaller flowers in between. But if it inks up those lines, it's not a problem at all. I'll just stamp over the top. Now I'm adding some Twisted Citron. This is going to add some more interest with the green colors that I'm using. By using two different colors, it'll give it more of a custom look. So I'm just adding that on there, and then I'll go ahead and stamp it in the center of my watercolor paper. So distress inks are formulated to work with water. So I'm going to bring in a water brush. This is just a Pentel water brush. It's an aquash brush. This is in the size small. And I'm going to go ahead and spread out that distress ink color. For the leaves where maybe half of the leaf didn't stamp, or it's not a complete leaf, I'm going to go ahead and just complete that shape. And you'll see that with a couple of leaves here when I just finish them off. I think this is a great way to use your distress inks with stamps, and it's also a way to really customize any images you want on your cards. So like I said before, the theme for August is flowers or floral. So I really wanted to try out this stamp set, and I've been eyeing it for a while, so I thought this is the day I'm going to make a wreath out of it. So now I'm going to stamp this flower, and I'm using Seedless Preserves and Abandoned Coral, and I'm just dabbing that on there. I'm trying to not overlap the color too much, and then I'll go ahead and stamp that in one of the gaps between the leaves. I'll use my water brush once again to spread around that color, and even though it's on top of that green line, it doesn't show up too much. The green spreads a little bit into the color, but it's not too bad. So I'm going to speed up the video here and do all of the flower stamping. I stamped the two-tone flower one more time, and then I went in and started adding some other colors of flowers. I'm using mustard seed here to stamp this little tiny flower, and once again I'll use my water brush to fill in the gaps of that stamp. And then I used some more green to do the leaf stamping. So now I'm using peeled paint, and I'm going to use peeled paint a couple times on the leaves for this wreath here. It's just a nice green that complements the green on the leaves I've already done. Added some more tulip type shapes with Abandoned Coral and also Seedless Preserves. Then I brought in this little tiny stamp that has like 3 little berries or 3 little dots, and I used that with Abandoned Coral and also Seedless Preserves to fill in some of those gaps that are around those flowers. So in order to even things out, because I noticed one half of the wreath was really heavy and the other half didn't have as much on it, I decided to use this little tiny sprig of leaves, 3 little leaves on it with some peeled paint distress ink, and fill in those gaps, and that really evened out the stamping. To add a little more color to some areas, I only inked up half of the small flower stamp and then stamped that and filled it in with my water brush. So the wreath is pretty much done. I'm going to work on the greeting area that's in the center of the wreath. So I've prepped the area with my anti-static powder tool. This is a powder tool from EK Success. And then I'm stamping the word thoughts from the stamp set right near the kind of more center, but more near the bottom area of the interior shape of that wreath. I then took that Versamark ink and that small 3 little berry stamp that I used earlier, and I stamped that in a couple different places, including in the center of those 2-tone flowers. So then I took some Wow embossing powder in the color Rich Pale Gold, and I applied that to all of those areas. And some of the embossing powder was sticking to some of the flowers, so I did end up using just a dry brush to brush away any of that extra embossing powder that I didn't need. and then I heat set that with my heat tool until everything was smooth and melted. Did want to mention that distress ink can take a little bit of time to dry, so I did let about a half hour pass after I finished stamping and painting the wreath and then stamping the center area. I then used a gray ink from VersaFine to stamp the "You Are In My" to complete that greeting. And then I used some circle dies for this card. I used circle dies from Simon Says Stamp. These are the nested circles dies. And I cut out that wreath that I've stamped, and then I prepped some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock. This is 120-pound cardstock, and I just scored that at 5.5 and just used my bone folder to really push down that crease. And then I put on my circle die. This is the circle die that's just larger than the die I used to cut out my wreath. And I placed that onto the cardstock with it just hanging off the edge just a little bit. I don't want that area to cut so that it creates a fold, and this is my card base. So I ran that through my machine twice just to make sure it cut everything, because it was 2 layers of cardstock. And then I was able to pull the card out from that cardstock area, and I removed the die as well. And you can see that I've created the perfect circle card base. So the last thing I did was I just added some foam adhesive on the back of my wreath and placed that down onto the front of my card base. That finishes the card for today. If you would like to participate in the August mail call, you can make a card using flowers. It could be stamp flowers, background flowers, pattern paper with flowers, anything you'd like, and mail it to the address that's in the video description below or with all the mail call info at my blog. Thank you so much for watching and for participating in mail call. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.